Do you spend too much time looking for the perfect brush? Do you feel that deep down you could be one of the best artists in the world if only you could find the perfect brush? Perhaps you've spent time and money searching for the perfect brush, only to be disappointed. Or maybe you've had a case of brush decision fatigue while you are making your artwork. Well, today, my friend, we end that search. Welcome back to the studio. I'm gonna jump straight into the video and just show you my favorite brushes to use in Procreate, and they're the ones that I think everybody should be using, especially beginners. The very best part is that they're absolutely free. The first brush, of course, is just a pencil brush. I prefer the 6B pencil. I feel like it has a really great grainy texture and it mimics a real pencil really well. It's also super tilt sensitive for some line variation. The next brush I want to show you is just the round brush. I know, it's the most basic painting brush Procreate has, but it has such a nice pressure sensitivity that changes the opacity, and I think it gives a really painterly look and it helps with blending a lot. The next brush that I love is the soft airbrush. It's great for gradients and again with that pressure sensitivity, and I also think it makes a really good eraser. And last but not least, I love the gouache brush for those fine painterly details at the end for just a little extra finish. So first I want to show you a little bit more about the 6B pencil brush. It's really great for that initial sketching, but it's also good for outlining in finished illustrations. So I use it to just kind of establish the basic shapes of whatever I'm trying to draw. It's very responsive to the tilt, so you can have a lot of line variation, which just helps to make your sketch feel more alive. I also use it at the end of my illustrations to add some final outlining and some texture details. And you're going to find this 6B pencil probably where you would expect. It's in the sketching folder. Next up is the round brush. You're going to find this in the painting folder, and it's going to be at the very, very top. It's just titled round brush. I love this brush. It's so simple, but I think it really packs a punch. I used this one pretty much for the entire illustration that I'm showing you. And because it's so sensitive and the opacity changes with pressure, you're able to create these really amazing gradients. I truly think that this brush is absolutely underestimated and it is so versatile. The next brush we're going to talk about is the soft airbrush. You're going to find this soft brush in the airbrushing folder in Procreate. I use it to add lighting, I use it to help make gradients, and because it has such a nice feathered edge, it's a really great eraser as well. And the last brush we're going to talk about is the gouache brush. So when you go down into the painting folder, you're going to see a lot of different cool brushes that have some really interesting textures, but I personally prefer the gouache brush. I also think that it has this really nice ability to blend with other colors that are already on the canvas. So it almost feels like a brush and a smudge tool all in one. I love to use this kind of at the end of my painting process just to add in those last minute painterly details and just to give the overall illustration a really nice finish. So now I want to show you the process of a recent still life color study. I used all 4 brushes that we talked about earlier. I wanted to show you what these brushes look like when you use them all together. So first, of course, I'm using that pencil brush just to establish my basic shapes. I love this brush for sketching. It just feels so natural. And then on a new layer is when I start adding in those basic colors with the round brush. I then dropped the opacity of that layer and then added another layer underneath to start blocking in the basic color and values with the round brush. I love going back and watching the process of this round brush work its magic, and wherever I put down a brush stroke, it's creating new hues for me to color pick from and play with to help with blending and just a little bit more color variety. I then wanted to kind of adjust the background and make it a bit darker, fade it out into a gradient, and I did that with the soft airbrush set as an eraser. I'm going back to that round brush and adjusting the size to get a little bit more detailed. And that's what I love about that brush, is whether it's really large or it can be really small for fine details, it just, again, it's just so versatile. And you'll see me do this a lot where I put in kind of a large shape with that round brush and then use the soft airbrush as an eraser to help define that shape a little bit more and cut back into that color. I used the liquify tool just a little to help adjust the size of some of these apples. And if you're unfamiliar with the liquify tool or you want to know more about different features of Procreate, I did make a video all about what I think are the essentials. So if you're interested in that video, I'll have it linked. These 4 brushes simplify my workflow so much, and they're completely free. There are so many amazing brushes out there, and I've definitely paid for quite a few brushes in the past, hoping that I could find like the best one to make my process easier, but I really didn't need to go outside of Procreate. I guess my goal for this video was just to help you understand that there isn't one perfect brush. You can make amazing artwork with whatever tool feels the most comfortable for you and in your process and workflow. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you've found it helpful, and I will see you next time.